Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Procurement, the only show you need to master the art of procurement. Let's go. So, welcome to this amazing ep of Let's Talk Procurement. We've got a special guest here. So special, in fact, that we've decided to not do a bulletin today. We'll save that for another episode. Make sure you email us on our email, 2lukes1sip@gmail.com. That's the number 2, Luke's plural, the number 1, CIP@gmail.com. Also, we have an Insta, don't we? What's that?
Let's_talk_procurement. Drop us a little message on there, like some of our photos. Don't forget to give us a cheeky review if you enjoy this episode. And what I'd love to say is, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the virtual studio, Nick. It's fantastic to have you here. How are you doing?
Wonderful to see you guys again. Doing well, thanks. Yeah, it's been a good week as we ramp up towards the end of the year. It was a busy time for us all, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a catch-22, isn't it? You always think that December should be nice and quiet, but then everyone tries to get things over the line before they go on holiday or annual leave. So you end up doing more in a shorter period.
Exactly. All about trying to plan for next year, trying to find some headspace for that, whilst also, we've got to finish this one first, haven't we? There's a few things left to do. So yeah, it's a bit of a melee.
And squeezing a podcast in the middle. So we're very, very grateful for your time. I do appreciate that. What we normally do to get into a bit about Nick, get to know Nick, you know, what's going on in that brain of yours, we let our wild card, Luke 10, do some quick fire questions. Sometimes they turn out to be not very quick fire, sometimes they're very obscure. And we'll just find a little bit more about you. That's okay.
Yeah. So think of these as sort of like classic unhinged pub chats, I suppose. That's that sort of stuff. But the first one isn't. The first one is just sort of, can you give us a bit of an introduction on yourself? So name, occupation, experience, things around that sort of area.
Name, occupation. You sound like I'm a GP suddenly.
How much beer do you drink in a week? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of podcast is this? So Nick Drewe, I'm one of the co-founders of Market Dojo. My experience. So yeah, I kind of fell into procurement. Like, I don't know if you guys did as well, but there's a fair few of us. Yeah, we all did, I think. So I was in my late teens a tennis coach, and then did a engineering degree. Thought, I could go work for Formula One. That'd be fun. In actual fact, I diverted off into business. I did a little business module and really, really enjoyed it. And so I found a job in management consulting, which was focusing on supply chain. So sort of working with big businesses, helping them save money, manage costs, sort of leading category management programs, doing lots of sort of opportunity assessment for, how can they can sharpen up the bottom line. And that kind of introduced me to procurement. That was back in 2006, did that for 5 years. Really enjoyed it. Lots of fun consulting engagements all around the world for all sorts of exciting companies in aerospace, finance, manufacturing, even, Premier League sports, all sorts of mix of things. But there are lots of consulting work. I just kind of missed the dynamism that came with tech, and kind of saw that, whilst I was doing these consulting projects, there was just a bit of a gap in the tech market for something quick, easy, and effective for companies to use themselves, rather than as a sort of guided service by, overpaid consultants like myself at the time. And so, we thought, well, what if we just invented like a procurement app that you could just quickly jump into, run some projects, get some value, and then just leave it behind if you didn't need it any further beyond that. And so I got into Market Dojo and been doing that for about 14 years now, which is, flown by actually.
Amazing. So there you go. Can I ask where the name Market Dojo came from? Because that's it's an unusual name, but I quite like it.
Yeah, it is. I've got two versions of this story, right? There's a sort of corporate version that, Market Dojo. It's the dojo literally means place of the way in Japanese. So it's kind of like the marketplace, or the way to market is kind of how we interpret it, as well as being like, dojo, that martial arts connotation. So it's kind of like, the dojo is where you bring your suppliers in to do your negotiation, to do battle.
Fight with them.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, these days it's about much more than fighting. It's all about finding a win-win, isn't it? So, but it's that connotation. So that's a sort of corporate version, and then there's the perhaps more honest version, which is near to me where I live here in Bristol. Is a nightclub called Dojo's, and I quite like the name. Thought, yeah, why not go with that? Put something in front of it. I don't know, market, because it's vaguely to do with marketplaces. Yeah, go on then. So there we are. You can believe whichever one you wish to.
Oh, I know which one it is. Don't worry. we'll be meeting up with you for a night at Dojo's very soon, hopefully.
Oh, sadly, it's shut. It's shut. This is the only dojo in Bristol that's still going now. So yeah, sad times.
Carrying the legacy.
Exactly.
Sorry, look, over to you. Go on. Let's get
cool. That's good. That's a good one. The next one's a potentially shorter. So, sweet or savoury?
I'm a savoury person. Yeah, to my wife's chagrin. I will quite happily go and have another main course as my pudding, rather than to go around and have a dessert.
Fair enough. Yeah, and then similar to that, do you have a go-to meal deal?
Right now it's Tesco's, and that was my lunch as well. £3.40 on the old club card thing, bargain.
It's gone up a lot, to be fair, though. Remember the £2.50 days?
Tough times, pal. We've got to dig deep, but £3.40. I won't question what's gone into the ingredients. I'm not entirely sure it's too nutritious, but it does the job. So that's my current go-to. What's your guys? What do you get into?
Yeah, Tesco meal deal. Yeah.
Solid.
You're a plain ham sandwich with a water and a packet of ready salted crisps sort of vibe. Yeah.
Oh wow, that is very straight back. Wow.
Yeah, that's him. All over.
No, I'm on the Christmas special at the minute. Turkey and stuffing.
Yes.
Iced coffee. Yeah.
You want a triple sandwich, ideally, don't you? Get the most for your money. You want a biggest drink you can find.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, like proper procurement bod that we are, I do like the challenge of trying to see how expensive I can make my meal and then get the massive saving. I think my record was getting a £7.60 cost price down to £3.40. I was particularly happy about that. Some solid procurement.
I think that's got to be a challenge to the listeners, hasn't it? Has anyone got a better meal deal that they've come up with?
Exactly. It's an innocent smoothie. Those things cost a few quid. Yeah. With the triple decker sandwich. I can't remember, like some sort of caramel biscuit thing.
Exotic. Yeah.
Oh yes.
At what point though do you go, yeah, it is the most expensive one that I could get money off, but I don't actually want to eat it? You just got to go like it doesn't matter. You have to eat it if it's the most expensive one. You've got no choice.
Yeah, I think I ended up giving the smoothie to my kids.
Yeah. Okay, so questions start to get a little bit stranger now, I think. So a trolley traveling down a track heading towards two people. You have the option to pull the lever and switch it to another track where it hits one person. So would you do it?
The alternative being it's going to hit the two people.
Yeah, it's going towards the two people. You can switch it to hit one person.
I feel like I'm working for Tesla suddenly. Is it? Yeah, I mean, greater goods, one person. Yeah, short of any kind of lateral thinking of, jumping in front of it myself. Yeah, go with that.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe we should update the question as well. It should be if the Tesla is on autopilot heading towards two people. Okay, so next question. Would you rather £1 million up front or 10 million, chance at 10 million if you beat a warthog in a fight?
Beat a warthog in a fight? They're tough animals. Apart from the one on the Lion King. Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a soft touch. Do I fancy a warthog?
He's ready for a scrap in the dojo.
I think I am. Yeah, bring him into the dojo. Yeah, let's see how he'll do. Yeah, if I get to choose where we can have this showdown, then I reckon I'd choose a swimming pool. I reckon I could take him. Can water swim?
Nice.
Probably. But...
Okay, so would you rather have robotic fingers or robotic toes?
He's looking down at his fingers now, just kind of.
I'm looking at my feet. Robotic fingers. I'd go with robotic fingers because I do a bit of climbing, and I reckon robotic fingers. You just like zip up a wall with like just running like that. Great, easy.
Nice. Okay, so would you rather negotiate with one head of procurement or 10 junior buyers?
One head of procurement, definitely. I think 10 junior buyers, you'd be all over the shop. You'd get questions like yours, Luke 10, you know. I'd just be like, I'm sorry, where are we going with this one? Whereas I think if you negotiate with that head of procurement, you're going to be able to have a pretty straight conversation, which I think would be better for everybody.
Nice.
No disrespect.
Okay. No, I'm glad. And then the last question is, what animal do you think would be best in procurement and why?
So really,
don't say a warthog because you've just battered one.
Yeah,
so,
I just battered them. Yeah. If I can take it out, then it's not good enough. Animal that's best, I reckon. I don't know, something like a bear, perhaps. You know, can kind of appear slightly docile. You know, you think you could make friends with it, but you know, you go a step too far. If you put something under threat, that bear's coming for you, and you better watch out. But otherwise, it can be good as gold, and you won't even notice it's there.
I really like that. That's one of my favourites.
Nice.
And what I like about bears is they're very territorial, and I always think if someone comes into my little supplier patch, I get really, you know, like they're trying to bring their own supplier into this nicely managed stack of suppliers. I get quite territorial, so I like that.
Yeah, bear. You don't want to pick. You know, you're happy to see them from afar, but you know you don't want to pick a fight with a bear because it will take you down. So just admire it from afar and do that.
And we're partial to some honeys. Honey.
So honeys, interesting. Yeah, partial to a bit of honey. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're more of a Winnie the Pooh type bear. I was thinking more grizzly or polar, but you know we'll go with Winnie the Pooh maybe.
Depends on the day of the week. Let's go with that.
That's true.
Look, I think you did really well there, Nick. I honestly have no idea what he's going to come out with, and I have just as much clue as you do. So thank you for entertaining the junior buyer.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's fun. I must admit, you know, before this podcast, I was thinking, I wonder what kind of questions these guys are going to ask. I should probably brush up on, you know, how I came about with Market Dojo or procurement, what the trends these days, where's AI going? No. What animal is best in procurement and so forth. Yeah.
Yep. Who do you want to scrap? That. Yeah.
Yep.
We go there. Well, I think in all seriousness, with some of the I guess the serious content, we do have some questions that we think you could provide a lot of value and insights onto based on your background, where you kind of, you know, got some significant experience. I think the one I would like to start with is probably around auctions, reverse auctions, and kind of, you know, to you, what is a reverse auction, and I guess why do you see that they are valuable in procurement? Because I get a mix of feedback on them, and I'll touch on that slightly further into the conversation.
Yeah, certainly get a mix of feedback, that's for sure. But I really like auctions myself because, you know, back in the consulting days where we were very much under the thumb for delivering value, reverse auctions were just a very clear way to demonstrate what procurement do, like to make it real. And very visible to business stakeholders. You know, these auctions would often involve very senior people around the organization. Like in some cases, we used to have the auction unfolding in the cafeteria of, you know, multi-billion-dollar defense organizations, and suddenly like the hundreds of staff having their lunch would see this negotiation live in front of their eyes and be like, what's this thing up here? Yeah, that's procurement doing a negotiation with a supplier at the minute, or, you know, suppliers plural. And it all sort of come alive. And be like, oh wow, that's really exciting. Those numbers there, are they real? It's like, yeah, that's actually bottom line saving that's being generated there. And you get like, CEO, CFO, all kind of just casually strolling by, like, wow, this is what you guys are up to. This is fantastic. Whereas a lot of what procurement do is sort of under the parapet, right? You're kind of saving the day with, rewriting a bit of a contract, or stepping into a negotiation at the final hour to sort of bring it back on track, or whatever. So I love that sort of proactivity and the high profile that an auction can bring. There are all the benefits associated. There's cost savings, of course, in throughout most of them. Time savings, just a nice, efficient way to negotiate with potentially. And the most suppliers we've seen in an auction has been literally hundreds.
Wow.
Of suppliers.
I was going to ask that. Say, how many would you say is an optimal amount to have in an auction? But I guess maybe there is no limit.
Well, in theory, there's no limit. I mean, in practical terms, there is. You don't necessarily need so many suppliers. You've kind of got a fairly good feel for the market value that you're getting our data shows after about 12 suppliers. So 12 suppliers is about peak. And clearly, if that doesn't apply to all spend areas, some you may only have 1 or 2 suppliers, of course. But in general, beyond 12 suppliers in a negotiation, you get real diminishing returns. There's no extra incremental value as you add more. If you get that many in a live negotiation, that's quite a lot of hard work around a table, a board table. But in an auction, that's 25 minutes work, half an hour work. Once you've concluded the tender process, which is the important thing. I think there's a lot of people out there that think like an auction has to take a fundamentally different approach at the beginning, but it doesn't. You run your tender process as you would normally, and it's just like, at the end, instead of doing this one-to-one negotiation or whatever, we're actually going to do this 30-minute auction, and here's your opportunity as a supplier to put your best foot forward and hear from us live in real time where you stand, which is not often an opportunity that suppliers have. Usually with procurement, it's like, look, you're winning, or you're not winning. You're successful or you're not, rather than that you're about 5% off. What do you want to do about that?
And you can't have all of those kind of dynamic conversations with, say, 12, even 3 or 4 suppliers to try and balance them all and kind of keep them updated as to where they sit in the overall competitiveness. It's really hard to do in real time when you've got a deal and a kind of deadline fast approaching. So I can see that being a massive benefit. And I think just for the listeners' benefits, obviously, I guess an auction is something like an eBay where you're bidding up to win, and a reverse auction is, I know it sounds daft, but it is the opposite of that, where you're reducing your price to be the lowest price overall, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, in general, yeah. I mean, suppliers are competing to try and secure a contract for the goods and services that you're offering. It's not just price. I mean, that's a little bit of a misconception. Some can be just price. There are lots of different auction formats and rules that you can introduce. Often you might have a more of a sort of weighted auction, whereby the decision of which supplier you choose is according to other factors, just like you do in a tender. Your balanced scorecard of like, look, 20% is based on quality, 30% is based on commercials. The rest is just based on your abilities to service our needs, etc. You mirror exactly that in the auction. Usually it's just the price that the suppliers can tweak, but they get their feedback on the whole, to make sure that if they are slightly more expensive than others, but they are providing a better quality of delivery, that gets recognized in the negotiation.
I don't know if this would work, but one of the challenges I sometimes have is obviously contractual terms, and say we might have a customer and they kind of stipulate that we need X amount of liabilities, we need to take that risk on, and we would then be expected to attempt to flow that down to our supply chain. And I think actually we often have those conversations about price, quantity, etc., and then the terms discussion could be left a little bit too late.
Yeah, you can do a multitude of approaches there. So yeah, one approach is to get all the upfront agreements from suppliers, so that they're all sort of bidding on like with like terms, that all those liabilities, etc., have been incorporated in their proposal, so that ultimately the pricing they put forward at the end is just So I'm just seeing your signal a bit cutting out, but yeah. So ultimately, the pricing that the suppliers put forward at the end is based on equal terms to others. But also, you can structure the auctions so that these other variables are also open to suppliers to tweak during the auction. Yep. So they can say, well, here's my price, but this is the quality of, I don't know, raw material I'm going to give you, and this is the payment terms that I will accept. These are the logistics lead times I can offer you as a result. So you can kind of tweak the different variables that constitute the overall offer live in an auction.
Yep.
It's a bit more work to set the auction up front, to sort of do all the formula that will translate these different variables into a pounds and pence outcome. What's it worth to you to have a quicker lead time, for example? What's it worth to you to have a better quality of raw material? But if you can evaluate those things, which you need to, because these are all important in order to be able to make a decision, but you can build it all in the auction, and then the suppliers can kind of pick and choose those different variables.
Fantastic.
I like the,
so
performance element of it. I like how it's kind of, we seem to say a few times that procurement is often recognized for what we do wrong rather than what we get right. I think when we do things right, sometimes goes under the radar. So I guess my question was, how do you kind of, or what preparation do you need to do before you start something like a reverse auction? I assume you need to get your kind of must, MIL must, what's the middle one? And then do you know what I'm trying to say? That sort of negotiation.
No idea, mate.
Structure.
I feel like you're making it up.
I'm trying to work out MIL something.
It's something to do. Is that must? Anyway, it's to do with negotiations. But yeah, my overall question was how do you prepare before something like that?
Yeah, the whole tender process comes before, right? You don't sort of wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to do an auction now. Who can we negotiate with? Oh, I don't know. Let's just bring these 6 suppliers in. Right, guys, fight. It's following a proper procurement, diligent process, right? Whereby you have truly understood the market, who the key players are. You've gone from a long list of, well, here are all the potential suppliers that we could invite to this process, and you've whittled it down to an approved shortlist that meet your needs, have the capabilities, etc. You've understood their initial pricing, that they are competitive, that they've understood your needs, that any errant bids and any errant suppliers have been knocked out of that process, to then end up with like a maybe anywhere between 3 and 15 suppliers that you're in theory pretty happy to work with, and it's important that you run these things with a high degree of intent, that it is equitable. These suppliers do have a genuine chance of winning something here. And yeah, bring them through into an auction once you've done all that vetting, basically. So follow your good procurement process, and just keep your negotiation process open that an auction can be done. By which I mean in your ITT or your invitation to tenders or anything like that, just say, look, this process may conclude with an auction, and we will let you know nearer the time if that is our desired outcome. Just okay. So you're keeping the door open.
I think from personal experience, a couple of one of the main issues I've had with it is getting the suppliers on board to compete in an auction, and I'm talking here about suppliers I've already engaged for other pieces of business. They're perhaps a known entity to myself and the business, and then opening it up to something that is competitive. And I'm being open and honest, it's kind of things that you would expect to be perfect for an auction. On my off-the-shelf things that aren't bespoke and could be competed fairly openly. So I've struggled to get full supplier engagement on it, and I don't know if is that a me not doing preparation? Is it a suppliers are just hesitant because they don't want to waste time or win? I don't know, but have you kind of got any insights on that?
Yeah, it comes up. There are a number of potential reasons why, from misinformed. They weren't aware, and suddenly this is a bit of a surprise. Particularly if it's put upon them right at the last minute, and they've already put in, considerable time and effort to sort of sharpen up their offers, and then suddenly it's like, we're going to auction you as well. It's like, whoa, that was not clear. So we always advise clients to be clear of their intentions up front, to give suppliers plenty of time to get ready. Sometimes it's misconception from the suppliers of the process. This race to the bottom that can be construed as, but as I say, multitude of variables can go into the outcome. It's not just price. The decision is often very balanced, from the team.
Of course.
So I think to get proper engagement, just be very honest, open, upfront with suppliers of your intentions. Follow a diligent process. So they do feel like you guys are running this properly. It's not just lowest wins. Consider your supply market. Clearly, if you're buying Microsoft software, it's like you're going to have a hard time getting Microsoft to do an auction for it. But in certain supply markets, there's some great opportunity. And you can work on the sales pitch to suppliers as well. I think that's something in procurement we forget sometimes. We are also salespeople, right? In procurement, we do have to sell to our colleagues and stakeholders. We have to sell to our suppliers sometimes, and put it across to suppliers that it is genuinely a good opportunity for them to see real feedback, to see how they stand in the market, a bit of market intelligence, to lean on what they're good at, in their overall offer, not just the price. To the extent that Market Dojo, we've bid in auctions lots of times for prospective clients and existing clients. We've done pretty well out of it, and to be honest, we quite enjoy the process because we get a decision faster. The number of times we get an RFP land on our desk saying, "Hey, can you fill out these 5 billion questions about your product and all the must-haves and likes-to-haves and stuff," and then you spend weeks doing this stuff, submit it through, and just hear nothing. You're like, guys, what's the result? Oh yeah, sorry, you weren't successful. Like, well, what was the opportunity to come back with anything? Why? Were we too expensive? Were we missed the point somewhere? Whereas an auction, you're going to get your outcome within that next 30 minutes. You're going to know where you stand, and that is advantageous.
A little penny just dropped in my head, and it's probably a reason it maybe doesn't exist, but kind of using this system for recruitment as well, in the sense that we when we're applying for roles, you often send out quite a few applications, and exactly as you said, it takes ages to get a response, even to know whether you were successful or weren't successful, and sometimes all you want is a simple, almost automated feedback, just to say, sorry, unsuccessful based on X, Y, Z, or just we're not ready to hire yet, or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud there. It seemed like a.
You're right. I mean, there's a lot to be said. I mean, I'm a big fan of like spot auctions, where it's not some massive 3-5 year contract that you're tendering worth millions of pounds, and it's all high profile, high stakes. But they can be just each individual call off, each individual purchase requisition. It's like, right, I need like a bit of labor for a couple of days to do this type of job. I've got three approved vendors out there. Who wants it most? It could be a bit of consulting work, bit of finance work. We do a lot of spot auctions for fuel. So a big waste management company across Europe, every day they need to fill up fuel tanks for their depots around the country, countries plural, and they just throw it out to their panel of approved suppliers and say, guys, who wants to fill up the tank today? What's your offer? And it's just a very quick, easy way of just getting the latest market price. And 99% of it is automated. They know all the characteristics that it needs to be for that particular auction, and just click a few buttons, voila, it's created. Suppliers can go bidding. We did the same with logistics, moving big heavy stuff around the planet. Spot auction it. Who wants it most today? Go for it. Very, very effective way at driving market price and following very closely a sort of your own commodity index. Rather than trying to predict the future and sign up a big deal today that's going to cover all your logistics needs for the next 12 months, which you can end up being wildly off market price if you're not careful.
I bet. And are you thinking about AI and its role in procurement at all? Is that something that's come up? I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. It's hard, it's hard not to kind of, I guess, cotton on to things like ChatGPT and all of these wonderful solutions that even aren't as well known, but are kind of there in the background and have been for a few years. But is it something you're looking at?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. We've got a few bits in the tool already. I think you're right. There's a lot of buzz about it. You get these RFPs going, hey, have you got AI in your solutions? Yeah. What do you need it to do? I don't know. Just has it got AI in it? I'd tick a box. So I think we need to be careful that the AI actually has to add value somewhere, right? It's not just, oh, look, you can use some, neuro-linguistic programming to do something, and actually it would have been quicker just do that manually. We've got AI for generating RFIs and RFPs, which is genuinely a time saver because it builds the actual thing. It doesn't just, here's a load of text you can copy and paste. It actually goes and builds all your questions. And predicts the kind of question type that you should ask for this question. So, what security accreditations do you have? It will suggest that question and then say, here are the following suggested answers in a multiple choice format that you should put to your suppliers. So that's pretty cool. So you can sort of interrogate and say, look, I need to do an information security questionnaire for this particular tender. What questions should I ask? Or I need to hit my sustainability agenda for this questionnaire. Can you go and put in 15 ESG questions that would align to that? So that's pretty cool. We do just partnering with a solution for supplier discovery as well. So you can write in a box like, I'm looking for suppliers of corrugated packaging throughout Western Europe. They've got to have ISO 9001 and be over 50 million euros in revenue. And it will go, here you go, here's in its case, like 1,500 suppliers that meet the bill. Pick and choose which ones you want. And that's a genuine time saving.
I was going to say, that sounds amazing, and that's kind of where my thoughts were. And have you heard of the term ASL before?
No. ASL?
ASL, yeah. ASL. We like to talk about our ASL and our PISL on the podcast quite a lot. So it's our approved supplier list and our preferred supplier list.
Okay, right.
And I think what's often, I guess, a sort of an issue is we've got a number of suppliers that all go through onboarding. They're all then added to the books and they've all got capabilities. Someone in the business has engaged them for an initial use case and that's fantastic. They deliver the work, then maybe never engage them again. But perhaps there's almost like if I show you my ASL, can that go into the tool and then look at, I'm looking for a packaging supplier. Can you check my ASL to see what packaging suppliers we have that align to, that kind of market search that the AI is doing? And I think if you can pull out from our supplier list what might line with the RFI that we are about to do, I think that would be very unique and kind of, market leading.
Oh, I'll take that, Dan. Your ASL. Right, get ASL into Dojo. I'll look back at that and go, what was I talking about? I have no idea what that means. Yeah. Or even worse, get Luke's ASL in Market Dojo.
It's big as well. It is big.
Is it a big ASL? Is it?
Okay. Big ASL, yeah.
Interesting. I hope we've got capacity for it in the Dojo place. But honestly, it has. It's something we looked at last year actually, because in Dojo we don't categorize all the events that clients run. Yep. It's kind of something the client can do themselves if they want to for their own reporting. And so we were kind of looking at, well, how can we quickly run through and categorize 60,000 sourcing events really, really simply, right? Using something like AI or even just more logic, right? And one of the ideas was suppliers. Just looking at who are the suppliers that have been invited to the corresponding events, look up a little bit of information on those suppliers, look at some patterns, some trends, and say, oh, that's interesting. For this event, all of these 6 suppliers seem to do packaging. That positively indicates this is a packaging tender. Yes. And then, allocate, right, well, that's a category for it, packaging. It can work really well. And there are solutions on the market that do this already. So when you do your bespoke supplier search, you can feed in, here are the suppliers we currently work with for this commodity. Go find us others that are like that. And it can do some very, very accurate analysis of like, okay, looking at all those suppliers, this is almost certainly some kind of bespoke packaging service that you're looking for. Right, here are another 6 suppliers that look very similar to those ones that you're already working with. So it is something that's already out there.
I like this. I can hear the passion you've got as well for tech. It comes out naturally, doesn't it?
I love it. I mean, these are genuine time savings, and like, because early in my career in the consulting world, I was running sourcing projects day in, day out. I'd have 6 of them on the go at any one time, and in all sorts of different categories. From like, one would be 6-axis CNC machining components, then there'll be plastic injection moldings, then there'll be like, I don't know, stationery, because there was always one of them running. They were always buying stationery, and then there'll be something else for, I don't know, like in one of my tenders was selling an actual business. So selling a business and sourcing potential buyers, follow the same kind of process. So you're running all this stuff in your head at the same, and it's all very manual. You're searching trade associations, the internet, different supplier database sites like Compass and others to try and find all this long list of suppliers, and you're calling them all. It was a lot of work involved. So to look at AI that can go, look, these are the kind of suppliers I'm looking for worldwide, find. Oh, such a time saving.
Amazing, isn't it? I think question is, I'm going back to your intro, your little about piece. You mentioned that one of your inspirations was kind of taking tech and using it to improve procurement and kind of working within big businesses. And that stuck with me because I've asked, I guess previously, around where procurement fits in for kind of SMEs, smaller companies. Do you think there's a market for it, or do you think procurement as a department is kind of left out on the basis that you've got to prioritize your finance person first, and then your sales person first, and you want to get that 10 to 15 core team? I think there's a lot to learn in the SME space where I think procurement could be extremely beneficial. I don't know if that's something you've seen or you are seeing. Perhaps I've just not seen it, but I often see the SMEs missing out on our skill set.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big need. And you're absolutely right. As organizations grow and go through their maturity, every company like Market Dojo, we started off, a couple of product guys and tech, developing, and a few sales people. I found myself in sales, having moved from consulting, so that's a whole story in itself. But as you then grow, you get more salespeople, you get marketing, you get support, you get finance, as you say, and you kind of grow these different departments, and then HR and so on. Procurement is often the last one, right? I mean, we don't have a procurement department at Dojo. We don't deserve one yet. We're still pretty small. But even our parent company, Eska, they don't have a procurement person yet, dedicated procurement, and they're, knocking on the door of 200 million euros in revenue. And you kind of think, well, surely by that scale, a procurement person would be beneficial. And absolutely, I found myself, helping out a little bit on some procurement projects, reporting into finance, funnily enough. But there's still a lot of money going out the door.
Yeah.
Even at Dojo, we're spending millions on this, that, and the other. Just a little bit of extra rigor, a little bit of support by, even if they're not called procurement, if they're just called something else, operational support, to just be a little bit more commercially savvy. Just to check these contracts that the suppliers are giving us, because who's checking them? Is it guys in marketing? Is it guys in support? The guys in sales? What risk are we exposing ourselves to here? It's, and I don't mean, legal risk. I mean, commercial risk, just silly things like this contract auto renews. Do we want that? That can be suddenly a huge saving by just saying, take that out immediately. Great. Now we've just protected ourselves from this 50K spend that we could have incurred next year that we don't need. So I think there is, and there are some consultancies out there that focus on SMEs, but it's a tough sale because who do you speak to? Do you speak to the CEOs, the CFOs? Often they don't know it's a pain. It's like, well, we're not of the scale yet, guys. We don't need proper process. It's like, it's not necessarily about the proper process. It's just about a bit of specialism. That's all. Maybe because I'm thinking consultants are quite expensive, right? You hear the word consultancy and you think that's going to cost a lot. It's kind of a fearful word. Maybe it's a
let's have the guts to walk in and say, I'm going to pay for myself by delivering these savings. And if you can prove, if you're happy to sign them off, and then I'll take payment from, proof in the pudding sort of approach, then I think it might get us into more SMEs, more smaller businesses, or maybe not even small anymore, like you were saying about your partner company. So yeah, I think there's a lot of growth in procurement. There
is. I mean, like, interesting what you say on, prove your worth. Again, back in the consulting days, that's often how we took our fees, was out of the savings we generated for organizations. But we'd get disputed the whole time, because I remember doing one project. It was something mundane, like a stationery contract. Woohoo! They're buying like £1 million a year of stationery, and we did a full sourcing project on that and culminated in an auction. Saved 600 grand. 600 grand. And so we went, well, here you go, here's our invoice for 150k. And they're like, no way we're paying that. You did like 3 weeks work. I'm not paying you £150,000 for 3 weeks work.
Unbelievable.
And it's like, well, we've saved you all this money that you're going to spend anyway. It's like, yeah, but you did 3 weeks work. So, it ended up a little bit of dispute, but genuinely, yeah, with some good procurement rigor, you can end up having huge value. But just going on a gain share model can end you in a bit of dispute. So yeah, watch out for that.
Yeah, maybe at least secure the minimum wage bit first, and then any bonuses on top.
Yes,
maybe.
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting seeing what Elon Musk is doing, for example. He says he's going to save $2 trillion or something in federal spend through his Office of Government Efficiency, and it's with a procurement hat on, you kind of look at that and think, okay, that's kind of over egging yourself. I wonder if he's on some sort of gain share. It's like, all right, guys, I'll only take $1 trillion for myself out of this if I generate $2 trillion.
There's certainly something in it for him. I can guarantee that there'll be something in it for him.
You'd expect so, right? I mean, I see Dogecoin has gone up by 150% recently. I regret not investing in that. So maybe that's his sort of sly kicker. But it's staggering, and I see the job ads are going out for people to help, but for 80-hour work weeks, no salary, and just get prepared to really get stuck in. So there you go, guys. If you want an 80-hour work week for no pay, just tap up Elon Musk. He'll sort you out.
Wow. Talk about, human rights is modern slavery. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who is fresh out of school, sixth form, uni, and have just stumbled across the word procurement? What would you say would be an advantage of them going into it? What would you do to encourage more people to consider procurement as a career, or would you just tell them to avoid it? Because that could be an option.
It could be. You're right. Genuinely, no. I'm a big fan. I'm obviously biased, but we do a lot of like lectures and seminars and things to universities and business schools. So like Cranfield and University of West of England and places like that, where there's a lot of some MBA students. In Cranfield, there's several hundred MBA students who. Procurement is like a tiny little piece of their overall study, and they don't know a huge amount about the real world aspect of procurement. They just kind of think, you raise orders and stuff for businesses. Yeah, okay, I get it. You sit at Amazon all day and just like add to cart. Yeah, simple. Yeah, that sounds a bit dull, really. I'll move on from that. And so we do the whole e-auction simulation with them. So we put them into teams of suppliers, and we get them to think about the scenario in which they're facing, where they're dealing with a negotiation with a big client, and we get them bidding against each other. And they've got to devise their own strategy, which it's not preordained. Like, they have to come up with it themselves, and the decisions they make will change the outcome. We cannot predict who is going to win. It's all down to how people bid on the day. And it's quite cool. Again, back to the auction thing, it just sort of brings it all alive. It's like, I see you guys are actually doing this. organizations. You're really kind of communicating the needs of a business. You're packaging it up. You're bringing it out to sort of approved and qualified suppliers, and then you're negotiating with us to find the best outcome. Yeah, okay, there's something into this. And we've had, we started doing this back in 2010. We've had people who've gone through that MBA course and now working in procurement roles, and they're like, Market Dojo, I remember you guys. I did that auction game with you all those years ago. And what's interesting is we've done it with SIPs as well. Chartered Institute Procurement Supply. Very similar outcomes. Like, honestly, there's not much difference between the quality of the bidding of these MBA students and the quality of chartered procurement people who've been in the role for 20 years.
That's worrying.
It may be a little bit worrying there, but hence the uniformity of an auction. It brings everyone to the same levels in some regards. But I think it's an exciting place to work. I think you're on the cutting edge of business agenda. Sustainability, new product innovation, welfare of personnel. You're talking about like modern slavery there. That's something us in procurement can really influence and support. The risk perspective of businesses, helping companies actually, mitigate risks that they face in their industries. There's a lot to it. And the advent of technology coming in there's a huge level of investment into procure tech at the moment, which is it's an exciting place to be. Which I think it makes the industry profession a really good place. And there's plenty of opportunity to progress, right? You see procurement people hop into sales sometimes, come into tech sales if you really want.
The devils.
Onto the dark side, yeah.
Onto the dark side. You go into, even solution selling and consultancy. So there's a lot of sort of sideways movement as well for procurement as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan, obviously.
Brilliant. No, that's great. And it kind of it's a good smooth link to last couple of questions. So first one that I had was, what do you think's been the most useful skill in your career? Is there one?
Oh, is there one? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know yet. What are my skills? I've always been someone who's tried to work with integrity, right? I've always been about the long-term play, not the quick win, that's all about me. So I think that kind of works well in procurement as well, that you're trying to find that long-term win-win. You want to have that with your suppliers. You want them to be with you for many years to come. And on the other foot, as a supplier to businesses, we want to work with those companies for a long time to come. And so it's sometimes about, making compromises that will perhaps impact you negatively in the short term, but that in the long term, it's going to come out much more favorably for everyone. So I think it's probably along those lines, but you're probably best off asking somebody else.
You're also very humble. I like that.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I have two brothers, and they always put me down if ever I try and get, a bit too cocky.
Well, if you want to call them out and insult them, this is the place to do it.
It's all right. They're not very tech savvy. They won't listen to podcasts. I doubt they've even heard of them. So don't worry about that.
Amazing. So the next question, the last question for me was, what advice would you give to your younger self on your first day? I don't know. I was going to say first day in procurement, but maybe first day in management consultancy, on supply chain stuff.
Oh, another deep question. My first day. Oh.
You wouldn't expect him to get deep, would you? But sometimes he does.
I know. I'm still thinking of warthogs.
Warthogs and haircuts, right?
Yes. Yeah. There are some convergences there, actually. What would I don't know, just something cliche along the lines of just keep learning, right? I think there's a tendency when you're young, you're out of uni or whatever, you're earning, you're like, you think you're the big dog, this, you answer back to people senior than you going, no, this is what I think we should do. And I think, the humble thing, stay humble, keep learning, because man, there are so many great people that I've worked with, and I'm sure the same for you guys, that, you know, former bosses, colleagues, peers, whoever, that you've learned a heck of a lot from. Same throughout the time at Dojo, right? We've just met so many amazing mentors and people that have given their time free of charge to just lend some advice. And I think the short answer is we don't know it all. We're never going to know it all. Just keep being responsive. You know, whether it's even to people in your own team, right? You know, when they're sort of giving you ideas of how you can do things better. I think you just got to continue to stay open-minded and keep learning from everybody around you, and it will just make you a better person, quite frankly.
Oh, I love that. That's that's to be honest, that's true. That's what I'm seeing in my journey. You know, seeing those people that are willing to support, and obviously I think it's definitely you're one of them. So, you know, you've donated some time here to help not just us two, but obviously our listeners, and I'm sure they'll gain something from this. So honestly, massive thank you for that. And obviously big kudos to you as well for taking the time out and letting the dojo run itself for a short while. Whilst, hopefully it's not burnt down while we've had the call.
Well, this is it, pal. You get to a stage where, like, you know, you get a great team around you, and you know, things can run themselves. It's been a long journey. Like I remember, like myself and Alan, my other co-founder, along with Nick Martin, our third co-founder, we sort of, one of the reasons for setting up Market Dojo is we'd go play more golf. Because in our consulting days, we'd play quite a bit of golf, you know, with clients and whatever. I thought, when we set up our own business, we could play golf all the time. We'd just do board meetings out on the green. It'd be great. And in 14 years, we played golf, I think 3 times, maybe 4 times. It's just not enough.
Backfired,
right?
Massively, yeah.
Totally backfired. You're just constantly in it. There's always work to be done. Luke note to younger self, you're not going to be playing any more golf if you set up your own business, that's for sure. So forget that.
Well, Luke 10 can man the fort if you want. If you want to trust Luke 10 with the dojo for a week, you can go aboard and play some golf. But it's at your own risk.
You up for that, Luke 10?
Well, yeah, we'll see how many warthogs we can fight in the dojo in that time. And I'll let you know.
Brilliant. All right, Nick. Well, look, thank you very much for your time, and it's been a real pleasure. So yeah, everything but thank you, and obviously, hopefully, we'll keep in touch and speak soon.
Oh, thanks, gents. It's flown by. No, really enjoyable. Appreciate that, and your interspersed of very deep, meaningful questions, and others.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Oh, that was a good episode, wasn't it?
Cracking app. Hope Nick's not too offended with us.
Yeah, we stitched him up a little bit there, didn't we? We didn't really tell him what to expect, but I think that's how you get the best out of the guest. Yeah,
fair play to him. He was willing to come on the pod with no preparation, no indication really of what we wanted to talk about. Just go with the flow. So thanks, Nick.
Yeah, massive thanks, Nick, and hopefully the listeners, you have enjoyed this and learned something from Nick. But you know, if you want to learn more, we've put a link to Market Dojo in the description, and or if you don't want to reach out via Market Dojo, you can drop us some questions and we will put them in front of Nick and get back to you with an answer, because that's the type of podcast hosts we are.
Yeah, we've also got the text function, so if you want to text us in stuff about Nick, did you enjoy the episode, but also more generally, if you want to text us about how amazing our voice sounds, or how much you would love to meet us in person and just tell us how great we are at podcasting, then get in touch.
And see you in the next one.
See you later.
See you later.